When I was 17 years old, I was at Danville High School, Danville, Indiana, and I met the editorial cartoonist for the Indianapolis News, a guy named Jerry Barnett. And when I saw what he did for a living, which was he would come to work, he'd draw a cartoon, and he'd be home by noon. And I thought, man, there's not a better job than that. He looked at some of my cartoons that I was doing in high school, and he said, I think you've got the ability to do this if you really want it. But he gave me a little dose of reality. He said, I got to tell you, I got to be honest with you, there's only about 200 of these jobs in the United States. That was in 1974. And today there's probably less than 50 full-time editorial cartoonists. I applied for jobs all over the country, editorial cartooning positions, and I was rejected all over the country. In 1994, when the job was open here at the Star, I was hopeful, but I was also doubtful at the same time. And I was still the chief artist at the Indianapolis News, and I applied for the job. And there was a time I would have moved anywhere in the country to do this job. And then we had been married for several years, and I had 3 children, and we were very involved in our church. And so the roots had gotten really deep, and I just couldn't see myself moving. And so I really thought I was not going to get the job, and I took some time off on vacation. And while I was on vacation, I got a phone call and offered me the job. The job of an editorial cartoonist is to express an opinion. My job is I come in and I scour the news and I find what story I think is going to be the big story of the day. And then I have to kind of process that in my mind. What do I think about that? Does that story make me mad? Does it make me happy? Or what do I think about that? That's just part of my job. And I draw about sports, I draw about current events, all kinds of different things. And that's another thing I love about the job. It's not bound to just one thing. Usually I come in and I just have a space to fill. And I do this one cartoon a day. One of the things that I started thinking about is what are some things that we can do online, digitally, from a cartoonist standpoint that's different. I've tried my hand at animation. It's very time consuming, and a lot of guys do it really well. And I've decided after doing it that maybe that's probably, my time is better spent doing some other things. And so I've gone the graphic novel route. There are some cartoonists who have this, if you read their cartoons, you would think that they believe that government is their God and that government can do everything. And I don't see my job that way. My job is to keep an eye on what the government's doing, and if they go out of bounds and do things that I don't think are constitutional, then it's my job to expose that. There are times when you're driving into the city and coming in on the interstate and you're looking and you see the skyline of the city, you think that I'm the only one in Indianapolis that gets to do what I do. Each city who has an editorial cartoonist, there's not even very many of us anymore, there's only one per city, and I get to be that one guy. When you first get the job and I came in here and I started doing this, I remember when I began it, I will never forget this, I just thought, at some point they're going to come in and say, hey, we were just kidding. You got to go back and do your old job. And so there's a lot of pressure, although I had the job, I didn't own it yet. And then you just have to keep working and just doing the best you can. And at some point it became, I took ownership of it. And they didn't come in and say, we were just kidding. You got to go back.